And we are back with one more edition of the Striker Tejas, your USL podcast for everything USL in Texas. We got the full crew today, but I think we should only do the podcast with Edson on the screen. Look at his outfit. If you're only listening on podcast, you gotta go to our YouTube channel just to see his outfit. He's basically a NASCAR driver. Has the hat, has the jacket. Oh my God, looking good, Edson. How are you, brother?
Thank you. Doing pretty well. It's a cold night here in the valley, and I just got back from the grocery store. So I was just like, get here, put in all the groceries, and hop on to the show. So I didn't even get a chance to take off my jacket. But yeah, but
Are
don't
you
worry.
giving up?
Go
Are you
ahead.
giving up on soccer? We're gonna do only NASCAR from now on.
No, I'm. It's funny because my mom told me once. Because I was watching a YouTube video, and he's like, you're gonna be like that too, just like you did with soccer. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. Soccer, will still be my passion. So, and
But she's
it's
winning.
okay,
Oh,
guys.
okay.
It's okay. I got a soccer
You have the
jersey
purple
underneath.
shirt on. All right. That makes it better now. That makes it better. We're back to normal. Back to a soccer podcast now. We're looking good. All right. Let's go all the way to the other side of the borderland, El Paso. Joe, we'll talk about it. Busy week, big surprise. How, while we're all celebrating San Antonio winning the USL Championship, which we're going to talk a lot about it in a few minutes, all of a sudden, boom, a bomb, an atomic bomb almost drops in El Paso.
Yeah, most definitely. It was a bit of a surprise yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get more into it here in a little bit. It's with regarding the departure of John Hutchinson here from El Paso Locomotive. But first, I just want to say hi to everyone listening in. It's a pleasure to be back with you, Roberto, Jonathan, and what I guess we'll call for today's episode the Hispanic Ricky Bobby and Edson with the NASCAR gear. And hey, I want to know one thing, Edson, my man, you're down in the valley, yo. How cold can it be?
Let's just say if it gets down to below 70 degrees, everybody's taking out their colchas. Everybody wants to go get hot chocolate, some pan dulce. So yeah, and it's right now it's like maybe like 49, 50 degrees down here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of freezing. We're getting a little bit of freezing rain here tonight, so it's below 35 degrees.
Joe's probably like, oh, boo hoo! You guys are
no,
really...
not that. No, I mean, no, not that. I
Just
mean,
joking.
no, people in El Paso, real quick. I don't know if there's citizens of any other city in anywhere. When it gets cold here in El Paso, people just stop caring. They will walk out with blankets wrapped around them. Not a jacket, I'm talking comforters, like no shame in their game.
Los de Tigre de San Marcos.
Yeah, like it's pretty funny. But anyhow, it's good to be back, and I'm ready to jump into this, boys.
Let's go down to the capital of USL Championship at this point, San Antonio. We're going to talk a lot about the game itself, the celebration, but I think we already talked about this. We have a big Slack channel with everybody that collaborates and helps with the striker. And there's a huge disappointment within our group that Jonathan did not jump in the river with the players at the celebration yesterday. Come on, Jonathan. What a disappointment, man. Come on.
I mean, as SAFC was jumping in the river, they literally paused to say, by the way, you guys, fans, please don't do this as well. You're not supposed to jump in the river. The players have special permission. And there was literally a fine for, jumping in the river. For what it's worth,
I'm sure we could do a crowdfunding or something to pay the fine for you if you.
I'll pay your bail. I'll pay your bail. By the way, if you had gotten sick, I got you covered, man. Thank you, Harry.
From what I understand, the hell with the bail money. What about your medical bills for
Exactly.
jumping in that
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, apparently that water is not the safest. I will say I had an idea if we wanted to do some sort of like, hey, if SAFC wins the championship, Jonathan, you've got to do this. But we never put any stakes on it, so who knows what it was? I guess I'll just take that to my grave.
Oh, we should have. We should
Missed
have.
opportunity. I am ashamed of
Anyway,
myself.
before we go on to talk about the things that people really care about, let me just ask everybody here. You may know already we're doing this equity crowdfunding for the striker. You know, we're trying to bring the soccer community together to own the striker. So we believe that this could be. It is for the soccer community. It's an inclusive thing, and it's a huge opportunity for people to invest as low as $250. You can be, part owner of the striker, and help us, shape the voice of soccer in the U.S. as we have been doing, and we would love to have everybody that's listening to us to invest with us. Again, a minimum of $250. Very easy. Go to wefunder.com/the.striker. And it's very easy. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, roberto.silva@thisstriker.com. Anyways, let's talk about USL Championship Final. I had the pleasure to spend the weekend with Jonathan. Was there Saturday for the press conference, which was very interesting because it was not a very well attended a press conference, but it was good because it gave us liberty to ask as many questions as we wanted to really talk to the two head coaches, to the two captains. Very well organized by the league, by the way. But anyways, it was a good Saturday. Some good messaging. Both coaches praising a lot their organizations. Marcina said very clearly with I could even quote him at this point saying he worked for the best sports organization in the whole world. Maybe not exactly with those words that he said, but basically that's his position. Has said that he gets everything that he needs from the ownership and has a great structure and that those phrases were basically repeated by Danny, the head coach for Louisville. Also praising the ownership group, which by the way, there's a very cool article written by Jonathan about the ownership of Louisville. I suggest you go back to the striker, take a look if you haven't read it. Very cool article. Tells a little bit, not a little bit, that tells in detail how John becomes the owner of Louisville. And the way he becomes the owner of Louisville is very similar to many other owners of teams in the US, how they go. It's a pretty much similar story to a lot of people that become passionate about soccer and decides to do this for the community more than anything else, which was very, very cool. Before we go to the game itself, Jonathan, anything else from the press conference that you feel it is worth us talking? Which, by the way, we streamed live the press conference. You can find that also on our YouTube channel and our Twitter account to watch those press conferences.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you really want to, you can go back and look at them. I feel like it's all kind of, I don't know. There might still be some interesting things in there, but a lot of it is they're preparing for a game that has now happened. So in hindsight, it may not be nearly as impactful, but I think it was interesting that maybe you hear some of the same things from each team. Oh, we think we understand the other team. We think we're going to be able to um, impose our style of game effectively. That's what we're looking to do. We're trying to start strong. Some of those things, and I mean, it was 40 solid minutes of interviews between the two teams. So there was a lot in there, and it's hard to kind of summarize it, I would say, but a lot
There's
of
a lot
interesting.
there. I think it's a valid watch if you haven't watched it
Yeah.
yet.
Can I
it is
just
valid.
say that I think it was you that asked the question to Louisville, Jonathan, where you asked them if they believed that they were representing the whole Eastern Conference or they were just thinking of the club as themselves. I thought it was interesting that they said, "Oh, we don't really care about representing the East. We just care about representing our club and our city."
Yeah, no. It was funny because after the press conference, I went to have a couple of drinks with John, the owner of Louisville, and he had the whole front office of Louisville was there in the bar that we were talking, and there were a handful of people that came to him. Hey, did you see the press conference? Did you see the question that was made about the Eastern Conference? It was so good, the answer that he said, no, we don't care about anybody. We care about ourselves. And yeah, I think it became a thing. I think it was definitely the high point of the press conference for sure.
Man, if that was the high point, that shows pretty poorly about the questions we asked if that was the best.
No, but I mean the high point.
Come on, man, give yourself some
question
credit.
and the answer and everything, right? And the repercussion, it's almost like becomes a meme, right? It was good. I think it was fun. Anyways, I liked the press conference. I liked it the way it was organized. It worked well, and I loved it that we were the only media outlet out there streaming live for everybody. So really, to the point, what the striker is all about, it is bringing the community close to the game itself. Anyways, go to the game. Interesting game, like a very San Antonio game, I think it was, right? But I would say that the high point of the game was the worst part of the game, which was the PK with 2 minutes into the game. We have this PK, and I have seen poorly PKs being kicked, but I gotta tell you, man, I think that's on the top of my list, if not on the top 3.
Why? My question, and you answered it as well, Roberto. When you have Santi Patiño on your lineup as a striker, why would Mitchell Tainter, or why would the rest of the team let Mitchell Tainter take the penalty? You're in a final. This is not a regular season game where you're already winning 1-0 in the 95th minute. This is a final. You're trying to set up, the game to put yourself in their favor. You have to take advantage of that opportunity. Why would you let him take it?
I was watching from the bunker at that point, right? Because before the game started, we went to the bunker. If you don't know, haven't been to San Antonio, the bunker is right behind the goal where the supporter groups are. You're literally 4 or 5 feet from the goal, right? So we were watching, myself and Chris Bills, we were watching the game from the bunker. The game starts, we start moving back, and we're literally on the top of the bunker when the PK happens and everything happens. And you see it clearly. Patiño went to get the ball. He had the ball in his hand. Patiño holds the ball with him, and they basically put, forehead to forehead, and they start talking to each other. And you see Patiño saying, "Are you confident?" I'm not saying those are exact the words again, but do you feel good? Are you good? Are you gonna do this? Are you gonna do this? Are you gonna? And he's like, he was pumped. He's like, yeah, I got it. Man, he did not have it.
So what's interesting is, and I saw Edson saying, why don't you have Patiño take it? I actually went ahead, I think it was at halftime, I used the old advanced Twitter search machine and found earlier this season when Mitchell Tainter just smashed a PK in at Miami. So I think he and Patiño had both converted a penalty earlier this year, were 1 for 1. So, I mean, Tainter...
Which is why I mentioned right now that this is not a regular season when you're already with the win and it's a 90-plus minute. Right? The pressure of a final is completely different. You need to have somebody that will put him in. And 9 times out of 10, it's a striker.
There's a second PK during the game. Patiño takes it and does it, textbook penalty, right? Strong, high, nobody impossible to be caught, right?
Well, my question: how bad did it look on TV? Because I know we had the tweet go up right away that you guys caught on video.
On TV, so on TV, it didn't look as bad. Once I saw the angle from behind the goal, I was like, I knew it. It's defensa. It's a defender. It's a defender, of course.
Yeah, but defenders usually kick it up. I've never seen a ball curve, away from the right post.
He's going for the bottom right corner.
It was a fade.
But I don't know what was the best. If the best was the penalty itself, or the best was the replies of our tweets account, which is also another thing. You gotta go out to our Twitter account, search that tweet, and read each one of the comments and the replies. It is priceless. It is priceless. But anyways, game starts in a good way. It goes to a bad way for San Antonio, and all of a sudden, they control the game from start to finish after that. And I think there's not much to say on the goals itself, but there is a very high point to the game, which is the play of the third goal, right? That third goal play, it's also a play that USL should. And I actually have seen some people already tweeting that, saying, if you say that second division in the US has no quality, take a look at this play, right? What Perano does from the moment that he catches the ball behind. It was interesting. Again, at that point, we were again back to that bunker, to the second level of the bunker. So we had the nice view of the play. I tell me and Chris who said, "Oh my God, what did he do? He does two roundabouts. I still can't explain exactly what he does. Makes the defenders get totally lost. Does a pass to the left side, perfect cross, one touch cross. Patinho stops the ball with his chest, and one touch puts it in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful goal. I don't know what else I can say about this goal, but very, very impressive, and shows that there's a lot of quality in USL.
Yeah, so I think it's very unfortunate that Christian Perano didn't get his name officially on the score sheet for a goal or an assist here, because to me, if you look at that third goal, like you've been saying, it's that run from Christian Perano where he just avoids 3 or 4 Louisville players and somehow sneaks through on the left side, plays the ball forward to Mohamed Abou, who squares it for Santiago Patinho. Every time Perano got the ball in this game, it just felt like he was almost instantly taking a touch forward, driving forward. He looked very hungry every time he got the ball, and it was really nice to see. I mean, I feel like when he rejoined SAFC a few months ago, I was kind of asking questions, is he necessarily going to fit into this team again? Like, has the style maybe changed, or, the particular role he's playing, has it changed? And he maybe didn't dazzle as you would have expected when he first got back. But as time went on, I think you started to see more and more he was getting back into a rhythm. And if there was any skill he had left, or any, pizzazz he had left, he saved it for this game. And he, again, without getting on the score sheet, stood out.
I do think that the Perano from the last few years, he sometimes looked like a kid, right? At some points, always had a lot of quality. I think always a lot of quality. Was always somebody that I saw moving to higher levels, Europe or doing well in MLS. But I think there was some moments there was a lack of maturity to him, which he looked like a senior player Sunday, right? He really had full control of the ball and of the plays and in the game. Very, very impressive. Talking also about maturity, and I think this is something that I wanted to ask in the press conference. So I'm sorry, guys, on Saturday, but Jonathan convinced me not to do so. I want to challenge Danny and Alan Marcina on Houston Dynamo hires a losing record coach for MLS when you have an Alan Marcina that has shown clearly that has much more or has a huge potential, has a winning record, won 2 national championships in the second division, not necessarily with the best budgets or best structures, definitely with the Scorpions back then, but today maybe not. I think San Antonio is on the top of But in despite of that, is it time for Marcina to have his chance with MLS? And will MLS give him this chance or not?
Is it time for? I mean, we'd kind of had this discussion, I think, 2 weeks ago now. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. Is it time for him to get that chance? I think so. Yeah, I think he should be, at the very least, mentioned in maybe for a. I don't know. It could be seen as a step down, but maybe as sort of an assistant coaching role, just to get his foot in the door, and for MLS teams or for an MLS team to really see what kind of insights he can bring. And by the way, that's kind of
Sorry to interrupt you. I'll let you talk, Edson, just a second. But that's the part that I don't like. Every time that a USL coach goes to MLS, he goes as an assistant coach. I if I'm Allen, I wouldn't do that change. I wouldn't go from being the maybe the best head coach today on USL to go to be an assistant coach in USL on an MLS. My question is, should MLS be giving those successful USL head coaches a chance to be a head coach in MLS?
They should be, yeah. And I think for what it's worth, like you say, oh, he shouldn't take that move. When he joined SAFC in, I think it would have been 2018, he was an assistant coach. And then lo and behold, he, I think, was with the academy for the latter half of 2018, became a full-fledged first team assistant coach in 2019. And then when SAFC decided it wanted a new head coach, it took a month or so and said, you know what, the guy we've got is already here. Let's give Alan a chance. And 3 years later, he delivered. And it really is a 3-year process. You even heard the likes of Connor Maloney and Marcina himself saying, this is 3 years in the making. So again, I think he should get the chance. Will MLS give it to him? Probably not, unfortunately. And that's their mistake. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Are you saying MLS is I know their league is a closed system league, so are they a closed system when it comes to head coaches too? Is that what we're saying?
They're closed-minded.
Yeah, because I was gonna say. I feel the times where a former USL coach has gotten a coaching job in MLS was either if one, he was coaching an MLS2 team, or two, it was a USL team that bought an MLS franchise, and that's how they got their door into MLS. Other than that, it's funny that there's no relegation, so there is no punishment if the USL coach fails. But yet they're not taking those. They take the risk on some players, but they don't take the risk on giving these USL coaches an opportunity to advance. It's always the same kind of like in Mexican league, the same merry-go-round of coaches, going around the league.
When Joe talks about being a closed league, I do have a feeling that MLS is a league of family and friends sometimes, right? It's you bring your close buddies to work with you. And again, using Houston as an example, I think that's exactly what's happening in Houston. Ben is close friends with Pat, and that's why he got the job, right? But anyways, I really want for us to explore a little bit more and bring even some more data, official data studies that we can do about this, and have a stronger discussion, and maybe invite some people to talk about this.
I just feel like at this point, pretty much the only other alternative to getting an opportunity in the future in MLS is to go and coach an MLS Next Pro team, and then do a good job, and then going to an MLS. I don't see a pathway from USL to MLS.
You know how I would see it. Is I would see it where, like say an Alan Marcina would go and maybe to a mid-tier team, and for one way or another, the way the MLS media machine works, to designate that person, in this case, since we're talking about Alan Marcina, if he was to go to and be the assistant coach of a coach, and for that buzz to generate, Alan Marcina consults with this coach, Alan Marcina consults, he's in his year, he's and then all of a sudden it doesn't work out, that coach is out, and then Alan Marcina is there, let's give him a chance. Like some kind of fast track.
But here's another thing, Joe, and this is because I know the Houston, because you used the example of Houston, Roberto, right? I know the Houston fan base. If they're criticizing the Ben Olsen hire, I'm pretty sure that if the Houston Dynamo go and say, "Oh, our head coach is going to be Alan Marcina of the USL Championship," well, a lot of the fans are probably going to be calling for Pat Onston's head because they feel like, why are you getting somebody from the lower leagues, and why don't you get somebody that has MLS experience that is successful in MLS? It's like the Dynamo fan base has they
Again,
think too highly of this team.
if the comparison is a successful or at some point a successful coach in MLS, okay, Ben has a negative record. It's the argument becomes easy. I have here a successful. I don't even know what the record is for Alan Marcina, but I would say here, and again, we should bring this data. I want to bring this data in a future one, but I wouldn't be surprised if the percentage of points that Marcina has got with San Antonio over the past 3 years is above 60%. That's a winning record anywhere in the whole world. Very few
The thing
coaches
is,
have
I
that.
mean, I think in a situation like this, and the last thing I'll say with regards to this is, I think this has to be, and over a matter of years as time passes, it has to be a baby step situation to perhaps when a situation like this with Houston opens, at least for someone like Marcina to be interviewed by the team and for it to be known. I think that would be a start.
Maybe they are, Joe. We don't know, right? We don't have those informations on the back end, what's going on or not. We sometimes do, but
Do you
most
really
of the
think that's the
time not.
case? I mean, do
So
we all
Mocha,
really think that that's the case?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
that
know.
even an interview is taking place, that they even look in the direction of a USL Championship coach.
I don't think they are, and that's my whole point, right? My whole point is I think MLS is lacking on the opportunity of really help to develop the sport in this country, right? And it has to be beyond the family and friends kind of style. Anyways,
real
Before
quick,
we
because I know you guys talked about what the stats are between the Alan Marcina or Ben Olsen. So I'm looking at Alan Marcina. He has coached as a head coach for San Antonio, 92 games, 55 wins, 18 draws, 19 losses, right? And Ben Olsen, he has coached with DC United. He coached 362 matches, 131 wins, 87 draws, 144 losses.
that's what I'm saying. There's no comparison. There's no comparison between one and the other. None. But anyways,
and
I
then
think we
well,
talked too much about. Yes,
yeah,
go, Jonathan.
I was just gonna say, I mean, on a much less serious note, there is a USL coach that's being considered for an MLS job. Landon Donovan? Anyone? No one?
Yeah.
No one heard those
Yeah.
rumors?
Yeah.
There's an exception to every rule in every conversation,
there's
Jonathan,
not.
and I think
No,
you just hit
There's
it.
not.
How
There's not an
laughable
exception
it
for the rule
is.
that we're talking about. Donovan is still family and friends in the concept.
No,
that we just
exactly.
talked
I
about.
mean, that's why I'm
There's-
saying
I-
he's the exception to the normal
No,
circumstance.
it's not the
Yeah.
exception. That's what I'm saying. He's not an exception. He's still family and friends.
No, I understand what
He's saying it's the exception to the USL coaches rule because
Exactly.
he is family and friends. Like, you're both right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's the two things. He's a USL coach, but he is family and friends from MLS, and MLS only does family and friends. Even if he was coaching youth, he would be considered to be an MLS coach because he's family and friends. That's all I'm saying. All right. Anyways, I think enough on this subject for now, but we're going to talk a lot about that. But before we move on to talk about another coach in El Paso that is not with us or is not with El Paso anymore, or it is, we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Jonathan, anything else from this game or from this season, or any messages that you would like to put out there?
I mean, obviously, it all comes together with this championship, with winning the trophy on Sunday. But overall, this was just a really good year for SAFC. I unfortunately, never got around to writing some takeaways this week between just kind of all the things going on and wanting to recover and stuff. But SAFC didn't have even an unofficial trophy coming into this season, and it comes away with Copa Tejas, the Copa Tejas Shield, the regular division or regular season championship, Western Conference Championship, USL Final Championship. 5 trophies all of a sudden. And literally the only competition that they were in this year that they did not get the trophy for is the US Open Cup, which is obviously tough. And you know what? They beat Austin. So that's pretty much kind of close to winning the whole thing for a USL team.
Yeah. They beat a team that was top 4 in MLS this year, right? So no, very, very good. Edson, you wanted to say something. I want to say
Yes,
something.
I just wanted to say that San Antonio beat Louisville City in the mental game. The way that San Antonio kind of triggered Louisville and made them focus more on complaining and fighting and pushing, and rather than actually playing soccer. You saw a bunch of players, like even the goalkeeper, was too busy like trying to push Samuel Adeniran and all of that instead of actually playing soccer. They tried to win on the basis of a physical altercations rather than focusing on actually winning on the field like they're supposed to.
Same comment during the game with Chris Bills. I said, what Louisville is doing now doesn't help them. What they need now is to play soccer to be able to come from behind. The more that they do this, it's almost like San Antonio was like happy. Hey, keep doing this. The clock is running, and I'm closer to winning the championship. But I do think that if those two teams played 10 times this year, San Antonio would win 6 or 7 of them, and they would tie a couple of them, and then Louisville would win. That was how much I saw how much better San Antonio looked Sunday. Like I said, even with the PK that was lost in 2 minutes within the game, they still controlled the game from start to finish. Even when Louisville grew, trying to get that second goal after they scored their first, there were no big chances. There's still you could see a very calm and controlled San Antonio team. Very interesting. Some cool things happened during that Sunday. I saw a lot of people from the league, a lot of people from San Antonio. I had some time to spend some time with Tim Holt after the game. If you don't know, if you're listening to this and you don't know, Tim Holt is the team president. And spent some time with Bobby Perez also from the Spurs organization, and with the players. But Tim Holt said a phrase to me that was very cool, right? He said, Roberto, we raised the bar for this organization now. I'm just trying to think how next year is going to be now, right? We're going to have to work very hard and be very good next year to not become a disappointment for next year. And he's very right in that sense. You get to a point where you spoil the fan base with an amazing year with 5 trophies. That puts a lot of pressure in this organization for next year. But I would say I have no doubts that Tim Holt is very happy on having this pressure over his shoulder for next year for what is in stakes. Anyways, that's about it for that game. Very proud of my friends in San Antonio. Very proud of my friends in Louisville also that had a great year again. It's incredible how year after year they're getting there. They're close by. It's very good. Let's talk a little bit about El Paso. Bomb drops yesterday. I'm on my way driving to Dallas to do the Dallas Soccer Show, their last episode on their podcast that they did last night. I was on my way there to be with the team there in Dallas. I get a message from Joe saying Hutchinson is out. I'm like, what? I did not see that one coming. And we talk on the phone a little bit, right? Joe, me and you. I was able to reach Andrew Forrest. I talked to him, and he was as surprised as I was. He said, Roberto, I'm very surprised. We didn't expect also that he would ask to leave. Joe was able to make a very cool interview, did an amazing article with very few time. It was up and running with some analytics to it, some analysis, and some very good facts, including the interview with Andrew Forrest, who has promised that he's going to come to our podcast to talk more about this process in the coming weeks. But Joe, what can you tell us about anybody that has not read your article? What can we tell people about what is going on with the locals this week?
For the initial reaction that the vibe that you got on social media with regards to the situation that developed, immediately people were like, oh, well, what's going on? And for him just to quit, what's going on within the organization? Why, with the fact that some players left, now the head coach is leaving, like, what's going on, what's spoiling the apples and stuff like that, that would just that this keeps happening, that people keep leaving, and this time the head coach. And I for one, you mentioned it, and the number one thing that I wish, that I would like to emphasize in me interviewing the Locals general manager Andrew Forrest, which once again I want to thank him for his time, was you could genuinely hear the frustration in his voice. This was, nobody saw this coming. And of course, you have to respect John Hutchinson's decisions, or, his stated reason for leaving the team. The family just could not find themselves and settle into what it was like being in El Paso and being so far away from Australia. And over the 10-minute conversation that I had with Andrew Forrest, you could hear the frustration in his voice. And he was, it was something that, it was just kind of like when you receive news and all of a sudden just your world gets turned upside down, because you're going to be under the gun, and you weren't expecting it, and you're going to be under the gun, and you have an avalanche of new challenges that were not expected going into the 2023 season.
But I also, like I said, I had that conversation with Andrew also a little bit before you did, and I felt the same thing. I felt some frustration on his end on not having that, but I also felt some confidence in him that it is a very structured organization, that they're going to go through that. Of course, you don't want to go through two head coach searches and technical director searches in a year span. But they've done it. They know how to do it. They're going to do it again. And I felt that he's confident that they will find somebody. There was something very interesting on your piece that I didn't get to the point to talk to him about it, but you did, Joe. That was very, very cool. Was him saying, when you ask him, why would you keep Hudson as a consultant for the coming days, weeks, for how long it's going to be, when the new coach is going to come in and is going to have his style? And his answer was very good, which I love it, which every club should have the same thing, is that we don't want to adapt the team to the new head coach. The new head coach has to adapt to the organization that we have here, the style of play, and what we want for this organization. So should not matter who we already have here. I know there's a lot in and out on that. And of course, there's still the coach wants those specific players, but the overall concept is a very good one. And for long-term viability of a club, I really like the posture.
Which makes it seem like they kind of learned their lesson from the difference between their last head coach and John Hutchinson. You know how rocky that adaptation process was, because the play styles were completely different between both coaches. So I wonder if that means that maybe they're looking in their new head coach a similar play style that John Hutchinson brought to the table, which is probably why they might want to keep him around, kind of help them look for that new coach.
I would agree with you, Edson, because I had talked to Andrew many times about it, and Andrew likes the kind of soccer that I also like, which is, you don't need to not have people score on you. You need to score one goal more than the opposite team, right? I'd rather have a 5-4 than a 1-0, because that's the same 3 points, and you have excitement, you have entertainment. Soccer has to have entertainment concept to it. If it doesn't, we're going to be the joke of the Simpsons, the 0-0, the ball going around, and nobody wants to see that game, right? So I think you're onto something there. I do think that the style that the organization wants is an entertainment soccer kind of play, which, by the way, not many times, but they had a few times this year, right, Joe? Less times than they wanted, but there were some moments that we said, "Oh my God, this is the kind of soccer that they want to do it." Unfortunately, it was not a common thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that jumps out to mind is that game here at Southwest University Park against the Las Vegas Lights, where they scored 9 goals in 45 minutes.
That's it. You take some risks and you have some rewards, right? Last but not least, I know that the family is very, very important, right? I know, we all, if whoever is married here knows that if the wife wants something, she'll get it one way or the other, right? So what I'm saying here, trying to get here, is how much, though, the fact there was not a winning season impacted on him giving up easier to the family decision than if he had a winning season, and then how do you give up that winning season, right?
I direct the to one of the things that Andrew said, which was, nobody was more pissed off, and quote, and I quote, was nobody was more pissed off about the lack of results this year than John Hutchinson, and that, I believe, is I am in 100% agreement with Andrew on that. So I mean, I think, with that being said, I think there was an element within Hutchinson. If I'm allowed to project feelings onto him, that there was an element within John Hutchinson that wanted a second season and an element of revenge, and to show that this thing could be turned around, and to watch this team grow and blossom under his command.
And I would actually take it one step further. I think it's a minor percentage, but still a percentage nonetheless, at least in my view, the way the fans reacted to these negative results. I think had the fans been a little bit more patient, and I'm not necessarily that they're in the wrong, but in the eyes of Hutchinson, I believe if the fans had been more patient to let him work his process, for a second year or 3 years, maybe, like in the best of cases, um, he might have been a little bit more reluctant to, like you mentioned, to easily give up this position within El Paso Locomotive. But the fact that the family wasn't able to adapt to living in El Paso, the negative results, and the fact that a lot of the fans were very vocal that they did not want John Hutchinson back because of the results. At the end of the day,
Now,
yeah, he's not gonna put up with it.
I think we're adding more to the recipe here, right? Decisions are not made because of one thing usually, right?
Yeah.
It's a sum of things that adds up, and I think everything that we're talking, it came to the basket to allow him to make that decision and go, right. I agree with you. If he was very welcomed by the supporters, if he had a winning season, all of that, maybe even the family would have adapted better. Maybe the pressure in the family wouldn't be as
Winning
bad
fixes
as
everything, right?
That's it. The 3 points have a miracle dose of medicine to it that fix a lot of things. But by the way, a lot of the pressure that he had this year was because of the successful years that they had before, which goes back to what Tim Ho told me right at the end of the game, saying that pressure is going to be on the shoulders of San Antonio next year. And I think we're going to be talking a lot about this next year. If for some reason the start of the season is not as good as this season was, even if it's still a good season, there's going to be a lot of people asking about results, good results for San Antonio next year. All right.
Hashtag Marcina out.
There we go.
Just kidding, of course.
No. Imagine if we add to a Marcina leaving, maybe all of our discussion about MLS goes away now because a team in MLS hires Marcina, and now San Antonio has to go through the same process that El Paso went last year, and it can happen, guys. It really can, right? In a way, I hope it doesn't, but in a way, I hope it does because I think Marcina deserves this. But I know, San Antonio also deserves to keep Marcina in this process. Edson, any updates, or are we back to normal RGV, which is radio silent until 2 days before the season starts?
It is quiet, too quiet, way too quiet for maybe the a lot of fans here in the Rio Grande Valley. So there hasn't been a lot of official news from the club regarding signings. But like I said, rumor has it that we might see some news come December before the holidays.
Is it quiet? Is it quiet, Edson, or is it ESMR quiet the way you just did right there?
But one thing that the fans in RGV cannot complain is about deception is a mathematic thing. It is expectation, right? It's reality minus expectation. If you have zero, you should have zero expectation of knowing about anything that's going on in RGV. So you can't be upset with something that you know was already going to happen, right? So in that sense, we're good. All right, guys. This was a great season. Great episode. We are already with almost 50 minutes here. I know much longer than we like to be, but I think what we're talking about, we should take longer. It was an amazing season, but don't think that we're going to go away because the season is over. I think the off season is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about USL. We can be talking about World Cup a little bit over the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to be fun to share our ideas. I'm going to be watching every single game. I already set up my office in my garage with a big screen. So every morning, 3:30 in the morning, you can count on me on being in my garage, working, watching the game, and then doing a little nap between games and keep it all going. But in despite of all the problems with Qatar, very unhappy, of course, with this World Cup. I feel that soccer was hijacked, but I still love, the victim, which is soccer. It's not because it was hijacked that I'm going to give it away to them, and I'm going to support the World Cup no matter what. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. Congratulations to the San Antonio teams, Team Holt, Bobby Paris, the whole organization of the Spurs and San Antonio FC, Alan Marcina, of course. Incredible that we got to the end of the year, not talking bad about Alan Marcina at all, I think. Different than what we did about the other head coaches this year, and even Alan Marcina last year, right? But I think it's interesting. Anyways, I think we should go now. We're talking too much, but always support local soccer. See you guys.